The interview had lasted less than 12 minutes. Daniel Carter rose from a chair with a tired smile, buttoned his faded navy jacket, and extended his hand across the polished conference table. "I appreciate your time." The hiring manager shook it politely but without enthusiasm. "We'll contact you if we decide to move forward." Daniel already knew what that meant. Outside the towering glass headquarters, rain drizzled over the city sidewalks. He stood beneath the entrance canopy, staring at the rejection email he knew would arrive before sunset. He had prepared for weeks, yet one question had ruined everything. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Instead of giving the polished corporate answer, he'd simply replied, "Honestly? I just want enough stability so my 10-year-old daughter never has to worry about losing another home." Silence had filled the room. Not exactly executive material. He slipped his worn resume back into his folder and began walking toward the bus stop. Every step felt heavier than the last. His savings were nearly gone. Rent was overdue. His daughter, Emma, had smiled that morning and wished him luck, believing this interview would change everything. He hated disappointing her. Halfway down the block, he heard someone shouting, "Sir, wait." Daniel assumed the voice was meant for someone else, but hurried footsteps grew louder. "Mr. Carter, please." He turned. To his surprise, a sharply dressed woman was running through the rain in expensive heels, ignoring puzzled pedestrians. Behind her came several executives struggling to keep up. It was Victoria Hale, the Billionaire CEO herself. Daniel blinked. She stopped a few feet away, slightly out of breath, rain soaking her designer coat. "You left too quickly," she said. Daniel frowned. "I already understand the decision." She smiled. "No, you misunderstood." The executives exchanged nervous glances. Victoria looked directly into Daniel's eyes. "Would you mind walking back with me?" Inside the lobby, employees whispered as the Soak CEO escorted the rejected applicant past security. Daniel felt every pair of eyes following him. Once inside her private office, Victoria closed the door herself. "I watched your interview from the observation room," she said. Daniel looked confused. Then, "Why wasn't I hired?" She leaned against her desk. "Because you failed the interview." His shoulders dropped. "I thought so." "You failed," she continued, "because every answer you gave ignored the strategies we expected." He nodded quietly. "But," she added, "you passed the test I never told anyone about." Daniel looked up. Victoria folded her hands. "For years I've hired people with perfect resumes, flawless presentations, and impressive speeches. Many turned out to care only about titles and bonuses." She paused. "So 6 months ago I created a hidden evaluation. I watch candidates after they think they failed." Daniel remained silent. "You thanked every receptionist. You returned the visitor badge without being reminded. You comforted another applicant who was clearly nervous. And when security accidentally gave you too much parking validation, you brought it back instead of keeping it." Daniel shrugged. "I was just doing the right thing." Victoria smiled. "Exactly." She opened a file. "Your interview answers weren't polished. They were honest." Daniel laughed softly. "Honesty doesn't usually get people hired." "Maybe not." She slid a contract across the desk. "But honesty builds companies." Daniel stared at the page. It wasn't for the operations manager position. It was for Director of Community Partnerships, a role reporting directly to the CEO, complete with a salary nearly double what he'd expected, full healthcare, housing assistance, and flexible hours. His eyes widened. "There has to be some mistake." "There isn't. I don't even have the qualifications." Victoria shook her head. "I can teach leadership software. I can teach financial systems. I cannot teach integrity." Daniel's hands trembled. He thought of Emma waiting after school, probably asking whether Dad had gotten the job. He couldn't speak. Victoria noticed the emotion on his face. "You mentioned your daughter." He nodded. "How long has it been just the two of you?" "Since my wife passed away 4 years ago." The room fell quiet. Victoria spoke gently. "Your greatest achievement wasn't surviving that loss." Daniel looked at her. It was raising a little girl who still believes her father can conquer the world. A tear rolled down his cheek before he could stop it. He quickly wiped it away, embarrassed. "I'm sorry." "Don't be." She extended her hand. "Welcome to the company, Mr. Carter." Daniel shook it firmly. For the first time in years, the weight on his shoulders disappeared. An hour later, he stepped outside holding the signed contract. The rain had stopped. Sunlight broke through the clouds, casting golden reflections across the wet streets. His phone rang. "Dad?" Emma's cheerful voice asked, "How did the interview go?" Daniel smiled as happy tears filled his eyes. "I failed it, sweetheart." There was a long silence. Then he laughed. "And it turned out to be the best failure of my entire life."